Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners, and it can be found on SoundCloud and YouTube. And today my guest is Vernon Brown from Tennessee in the United States, and his business name is called What's Your Happy, but it's a little bit different because happy is spelt with an I at the end, and I'm sure Vernon will share with you what that means about his business and what it can mean for you. So his topic today is doubling down on your efforts to close out this year 2020. And I know we've all had a bit of a challenge business-wise, personally-wise. It's been really a difficult year for many businesses, and I think Vernon's here to discuss with you how you can find your happy in your business and in your personal life. Welcome, Vernon.
Rose, thank you. I appreciate that introduction.
Oh, great. It's my best one yet, so I'm getting better at them. So tell me a little bit about why happy is with an I.
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Why an I? Because you matter. We were talking right before. That's kind of a line I always say, and it is true. Don't get me wrong, it's true. You know, a big reason, a big impetus behind me spelling happy with an I is that it wakes you up. So picture this. Let's just say you're trying to figure out what's going on with your conversions, what's going on with your customers, clients, your spouse, your kids. And you're like just in your head, and then all of a sudden you'll go to my website or you'll go and pick up a business card. I don't know if that's still a thing now, and you'll see happy spelled with an I. Now you're trying to figure out what made this guy decide to spell happy with an I. It's a way to wake you up and kind of break the narrative that we can have with like that inner critic being around, right? And it's everything that I do, I like to think is very intentional, but positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we all need that little bit of positive, actually a lot of positivity at the moment. And I think we're all hoping that 2021 will be a heaps better year, but I don't know. You know, I've got big plans for myself for the year, for next year, and you know, I'm hoping that other business owners will have those, you know, big plans as well for themselves. So, why do you think that businesses are playing too small right now?
You know, this is such a world-class question. It's the whole reason behind this phrase I've been using, double down to dominate. When we aren't sure what's going to happen, or if you've seen other businesses fail and left to the right, you just seen all this bad news. Like picture you're in this place and all of a sudden you see people getting hurt or people just suffering. It's going to make you kind of recoil, right? That's built into us. It's just we learn from our environment. And I get it. And there was a point in place to do that to some degree, because there's some tragic things happening right now. Now, I like hope, but hope is not a plan for me. I'm all about being positive, but if you're not taking all the efforts, and if you're not taking some of the chances, if you're not trying to get and connect with so many people and just see how iron can sharpen iron, you're going to miss out on a lot. Because the way that I see it, you can't make a mistake right now. You know, like if you wanted to try that social media campaign, you wanted to get on camera. Fun fact, I despise being on camera, But guess what? I don't wear a crown on my head. I can't ask clients to do things that I'm not willing to do myself, right? But this is the time to do it. This is the time to like really test things, because people are moving so quickly right now and there's so much negative. They're not, you know, like really, I wouldn't say paying attention, but they're not so fixated on a mistake that you could make. And I think the biggest mistake is not doing anything that's like grandiose. Because if you want to guarantee 2021 to be better, it starts right now, not January 1, not December, 15, 16. It needs to start like right now. Even just the types of conversations that you're getting in, start stretching, start reaching. If you want to reach out to that CEO, you want to reach out to a CFO, they will be more receptive now than what they would have been last year this time. Right? Because right now everyone's trying to figure out what's a good strategy or what's a great way that I can go and kind of pivot from this and make it, run parallel to where your business would have been like 2018, right? So as I see it, we got to go. We got to, like, I get we're uncertain and we're worried, but I'm more uncertain and worried about what I don't do versus what I am doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you don't know you don't, well, two things. You don't know what you don't know. And if you don't do something, you'll never know. If you don't take the chance, you'll never know the outcome. It could be bad, it could be good, but in the long run, you've got to give it a go, because if you don't, you just won't know.
You won't.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my philosophy on stuff.
No, but it makes sense though. It's a story that kind of came out of all this. It was back in March. I decided to open my schedule up. I just saw so many different people. My clients are doing great right now. All different industries, from steel fabrication, e-commerce, to just different retail industries. They're all doing great, and it's because I've been pushing everyone to think bigger. But back in March, I decided to open my schedule up because I saw so many people in a tough spot. I put down on all my social media handles. I said, if you just show up on my schedule, this isn't a sales call. This is no commitment. I promise you spend 30 minutes with me, you will come out with a plan. I promise you. That's like a guarantee. I've been doing this for 7 years and I've helped several thousand clients. It's not that it's, 100% me. It's 10% me. I might point out some different perspectives, might point out some other things that you might not be aware of and make you aware of them, but it's all 90% you, 95% you. But what came out of that was I talked to a person in literally every continent, which was really wild. It was just literally every day I'm kind of like jet setting around. But one person in particular that really stands out was an AV guy. And his particular industry was, running audio, video, hooking microphones up, doing just all that audio, video stuff, right? I'm kind of a nerd, so I was like, I really love this. But him and I were talking, and his biggest, the biggest part of his industry, business, came from colleges. It came from universities. It came from education, because of course they need these things, right? And as we both know, none of those things were open. In fact, they were scaling back, and they weren't even quite sure if they were going to even open back up. They were just uncertain. So for him in particular, he's kind of freaking out. He's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Rightfully so. 80-90% of your business coming from, one industry, that's a big deal. And we're sitting there talking, and, a big thing that how gets caught in business owners' way is we become so fixated. And this is people in general altogether, but we become so fixated on this one single focused thing of doing, you lose out on the entire picture. And oftentimes the solution is buried in the problem that you think you have. And I'm sitting there because, it's called OOPS thinking: options, opportunities, possibilities, and solutions. I'm always pushing that, always, always, always. And he's, oh, Vernon, colleges are closed, universities are closed, and, people are dying. And I'm sitting on the screen, I'm not judging, I'm just listening. And I was like, people are dying. He's like, yeah, people are dying, and da 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 da. And he's kind of going. He's like, people are dying. I was like, people are dying. And he's like looking at me. He kind of frowns up, and I said, people are dying. And all of a sudden, he's like, what are you thinking? People are dying, right? That's a fact. I let him know who's going to a funeral home right now. And he's like, don't you think they need audio visual? Don't you think they need microphones? Don't you think they need camera set up? And he's like, I got to go. Jumps off the computer. I'm not going to say that was a quick fix. So don't get me wrong. He put the work in. And that's a big thing with me. You got to put the work in. I can give you a treasure map. You have to dig. And in that instance, he got on that phone and he made those phone calls like his life depended on it, because ultimately his livelihood did, right? And what happened, he saved his business. And what happens now? Look, colleges and universities are open. Great. Now he also has funeral homes. And it's a sad thing, but guess what? As we make that transition, you want to make sure your family, friends, and loved ones can see you and still be safe. But he just diversified his business. And also he now recognizes what I call go with the resistance. Hey, if that's the problem, that's actually the solution. How do we make it work for you? But it's you got to be challenged in a way that makes you more expansive versus literally just kind of being reductionistic, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that at the beginning of the year, I was only doing one thing. I was just servicing speakers to get them on, to service their offline events. And then when COVID hit, well, it's total change of direction. Their calendars dried up because they couldn't speak in front of, the crowds like they had been. So I decided that I would help them get from offline to online, because online now is the way to go. I don't think with 2020 the way it's been, I think people now need to be hybrid. They need to be able to do their business in person, and they need to do it online. And I think online is, as much as it's been used this year and people are zoomed out, I think that moving forward into next year, I think it's going to continue because it's cheap. You don't have to travel anywhere. So, people aren't having to board planes every, 2 hours and travel for 14, 15 hours to get to their next destination if they're traveling overseas, which, hopefully that will happen again at some time, soon. But, it's just easy, plug and play basically. And, look at you and I, we're, halfway around the world from each other and we can have a great conversation. So, and that didn't happen so much, in previous years, up until, March, April, people decided, that, they had to change the way they did things. So,
Right.
yeah, I get your point. It's perfectly makes sense. So explain to me, I mean, you sort of explained to how your clients have exceeded, 2019 sales and how 2020 has brought, out the best out in them. So tell me what your view is on what people might be looking forward to, or what they could expect for next year.
My best guess here is, what's the expression? Find a gap and then fill it. So I know the people, and this again will double down, like really look around, really not just maybe not with your efforts and action, but look for opportunities right now. My best guess is we're about to see a Goliath or mini Goliaths of companies being created right now. And the ones that are bigger, I think they might be, from what it seems, some of them are in a little bit of trouble, but I am a firm believer of we are about to see I think we're about to see some major players get created. And I want people listening to be one of those major players, if that's something that you want to go for, I see with now what Zoom and what other technologies have brought a lot, especially I consider statewide, a lot of multicultural business. Mm-hmm. So I know statewide, it was, for lack of a better phrase, if you don't look like me, I'm not going to do business with you. And what has happened now is people are now, they're Zooming more. They recognize I can find and work with different people with different, cultures, and it's opening some people up. So I feel as though I think the world's changing. I mean, I know it's like the world's always changing, but I really think the world's about to change in such a big way. And I just want as many people as they can to give themselves a chance and just, try something different.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know, people seem to, there's going to be a big shift in the world. I don't know if you believe in that woo-woo stuff, but, there is going to be a small shift to the happiness. People are going to be more open to each other. And I think there's going to be a lot more kindness in the world because, and you're right, there's been a lot more cultural communication, and people aren't so racially motivated to do a disservice to another person. They're being kinder to each other in some way. And I think that's going to happen more into the future, I think, because they've had to, as you said, you have to deal with other cultures now. You just can't deal with your own race because there are other businesses out there that can service you and they're not of the same ethnicity. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a kinder world.
It just takes me back last year around this time, my son, it is one of his friend's birthday parties. And this gentleman, to your point, like, you don't know if you believe in that woo-woo stuff, I have stayed so positive on COVID because of this conversation. I want to say this. I was at this party and I'm the guy who I don't want to hang around the younger people. I don't want to hang around somebody at my age. I want to hang around the older person. They know stories that will keep me safe. I'm always told I have an old soul. That's just something that stuck with me. It's like, well, I don't want to hang around a guy who has fresh cuts. I want to hang out with the guy who's got the faded scar. Like he knows something about how not to do that again. But I think it's a long way of saying as I recognize who's in front of me. But one of the parents there had her father there, so the grandfather, and he's talking, and I wouldn't say he was odd, but he was a little bit out there. But I could see he was a very intelligent guy. And I looked at him. I forgot exactly what he was referencing. And I listened to him and I was like, he's the smartest person in this room. And because he was a bit more eccentric or a bit more ostentatious than other people, they missed it because, so many people get caught up in this versus paying attention to this. When I'm sitting there talking with him, I said, "You're the smartest person in the room." He says, "I don't know about that." I'm like, and that's what the smartest person in the room would say. So we hit it off just fine. And he said that, Vernon, he said 2020 is going to right all the wrongs. And he said it's going to be ugly. And he told me, he said, the universe is trying to balance itself out. Yep. Now, whether you believe in this or not, it gave me hope at this point, right? Yep. Especially because we didn't know what was looming around the corner. But he said, we got to hang in there. And he said, when we start getting closer to the end of 2020, it's going to be a big push for positive. It's going to be a big push for people being connected. And I'd be darned if that guy didn't, kind of predict the future there. If there's a thing such as that, or if you believe in something like that. And, I can't say fundamentally, this has been an incredibly uncomfortable event for all of us, to say the least, right? But we can't deny the fact that we appreciate the phone call from your mom now more than what you ever have. We talked about the holidays, like we were talking about having a BLT together, sitting on the couch means more to you than getting a brand new Xbox or whatever gadget, right? And it's back to the core. It's back to the basic tenets of what we were kind of brought up on, of having conversations, making sure we're interpersonally sophisticated, making sure that you can check on your loved ones, being a good person. Like before, 2018, being a good person, people would laugh at you. Now, because you're baking cookies, leaving them on a doorstep and running really fast, you don't have to worry about any kind of connection. You're like, oh, you're the sweetest thing. I use it as like a really rudimentary example, but guess what? That's what happened the other night. Someone knocked on my door, and it was my neighbor, of course. I mean, no strangers, no candy from strangers. And I thought it was like the sweetest thing. And the fact that I'm saying it was the sweetest thing, I would have never said that 2 years ago.
No, it's been an incredible year. And, despite the downfalls of, businesses and all of that, I think we're going to end it on a high note this year. That's just my personal thing. And I think going into 2021, I think, people are going to be happy with an I. So
love it.
So there you go. So you are basically a happiness and success coach. So tell me how business owners can leverage happiness to become more successful, strategic, and influential.
Great question. I think before I kind of get into the answer, I think it's important to just break down what happiness is. And I know some people are like, clap your hands and stomp your feet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's funny. That's funny. It makes you smile. But for me, happiness is energy. When someone gives you a good compliment, you get some good news, or, you get that job, you save the business, all of a sudden your posture goes from this to this. You literally walk around with the S in your chest, right? You feel more engaged. You want to connect. You want to talk. When people come at you and before it's like, I don't know what to do. You're like, you're just on. Oh, it's just this. Oh, just do that. You're just in that solution focused mode. And for me, that's what happiness is, because the more energy you have, the more successful you will be. Not just saying that, a smile is great, but when you're focusing on your happiness, you can still have a rough day or two, but you're still looking for ways to win. And so for business owners, using it not as the entirety of what you do, but using it as almost a foundation for how you start your day, your week, your month, is like, that's how business owners can utilize that. Because when you're higher energy, you want to collaborate, you don't want to isolate. You want to make sure that you're exploring things that you haven't explored before, maybe some things that you might have to eat a little crow on. There's some different things, even in my business size, that I would never do it. Now it's like, okay, the virtual events, I'm a speaker. It was weird. I'm like, all my events got canceled or rescheduled. And next thing you know, it's like, hey, live from my, my recording room. But it's looking at happiness as a way for you to just accelerate a lot of your efforts. In some cases, for many people, it's slowing you down so you can really see what the real opportunities are, because there's a lot of gaps out there. And I feel as though you can, fill those. And I think, one of the gaps that I was looking for was back in this around April, I started recognizing, okay, hey, Vernon, you're not speaking as much. Great. Well, you're not traveling as much, speaking. Great. So it's like, what's the smartest use of time that's going to give the biggest impact? And so I created Own Your Happiness. It's a happiness class. And it's a 6-week class that I created, and I started doing different iterations of it. Same content. I just wanted to, poke here and kind of tested it out. But that came out of doubling down, being curious, seeing what's out there, and utilizing happiness, utilizing energy, taking more naps. People don't nap enough. Take a nap. because you feel great after naps. Naps are delicious, but yeah, more energy, more success, more fun. That's a big equation for me.
Yeah, makes sense. Perfect sense. And really, anyone who hasn't change the focus of their business. I mean, restaurants here and hotels, pubs, we call them, but they couldn't have people in to eat, so they diversified and had takeaway meals and takeaway alcohol and all sorts of other things. So it was yes, you're right. You need to find the gaps in your business and how you can change those gaps and make them into positives, rather than being all despondent and just thinking, well, I'm going down the shit chute basically, and nothing's going to happen, and business is going to go broke. And I mean, it can't happen for everyone. There are some certain businesses who can't diversify, and they can't, that pivot, which I keep saying that I don't like the word, but it seems to be the word of 2020. So yeah, that's my focus, I guess. I mean, I'm going to be changing my focus again next year to do a little bit more for the podcast, and I think I'm going to, still work in my other part of my business, but I think I really enjoy the podcasting. It's quite good, and I get to meet so many different people, and they've all got a different perspective on life, which is really interesting. So, and I get to meet little boys like your son. He was absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. You crashed the party earlier. Well, no, he didn't. That's my buddy. But I think another element that gets missed is, for kids and for parents with children, I know it's talked about, but I really don't think it gets enough merit about how difficult it's been for, me as a parent and him as a child, and other people, parents and other people having small children or children in general. And I never want to speak, in hyperbole, double down to dominate. Like, let me tell you something. When you got a 5-year-old and you got a business that's growing, you're teaching classes, you're doing workbooks. I wrote a book, you're writing a book, and you got a 5-year-old wanting attention and wanting to get things done. You want to pull your hair out. There's a reason why I'm bald. And it's like recognizing that, I'm always trying to, I like to laugh, but it's recognizing that, hey, one, we forget sometimes that we're in this, I wouldn't say together, but we're going through this at the same time, right? Mm. And I think that definitely needs to be said. Because I don't ever want people to hear a message and feel like, oh man, that can't be me. When I can tell you, I was going through it. My son was going through it. Like, picture, he's missing so much of that foundational, communication, the communication with his friends and everything. Here they're not really listening too much, and so it's kind of spreading even faster and faster. But I'm just, it's a long way of saying, give yourself the space to just breathe. You don't need to necessarily do something. Give yourself the space to be a human. Give yourself some space to play with your kids more, if you got when you have the bandwidth.
Yeah, it's I mean, you can still do it. You can still play games with your children, even remotely. I mean, it's not the same as being in the same room as them, but and I feel for the parents who've had to be in lockdown with the children for weeks on end and have to homeschool them. It must be such a challenge. Honestly, right. I wouldn't like to do it. And I know a couple of my female friends have just couldn't wait till the schools open. They were just, no break from the kids. I mean, when the kids went to school, that was their space. They could do whatever they needed to do. Yeah.
Yes. I know. Trust me.
Yeah. And I really feel for parents that have had to go through that. It must have been really challenging, and just hope that it doesn't happen next year.
I'm hopeful. I think what really helped me out was, we must endure. There's always some struggle that we've had to face when you're a child. And it's not that, the way I look at it, my son's healthy. He lets me know that every day by screaming. He lets me know every day by playing. And I think it's reminding yourself of those moments when, I wonder what it's like do you remember when he was born? What it was like when he took his first steps. So just reminding myself of the happier times. Not that I'm trying to stick my head in the sand, but I had to, do a gut check. It was difficult. You're doing I'm doing an event and I'm speaking. I was speaking to an event in Germany, and 45 minutes and, I'm talking to a box and I'm so used to like seeing people laughing and joking. I get people out their seats. I'm really interactive when I speak. So it was real different, and then out of nowhere, I'm like 40 minutes in, about to wrap up, do a Q&A, and you heard it so clear. I'm part of my language here, but just bring up to reality. All of a sudden you hear, I gotta poop. And I'm like, that's right, folks. Heard it straight here from the happy guy. And you know why. I'm like making rhymes up. And what you see in the chat box is everyone going crazy, cracking up like, ha. I was like, I think you have to go. I'm like, no, he's good. He said he's got to poop. He didn't say he's done. And so it was a big joke, but it's just one of those things where you got to sit back and, I could have been frustrated. You can't say you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Like you never are prepared for that one, right?
No.
But it's one of those things where you got to take a hold of yourself and say, this is actually really funny. I'm glad everyone gets it, because they give everyone a break. And it's a way of saying you got to laugh sometimes. You got to
go with the flow.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vernon, where can people find you?
You can find me at whatsyourhappy.com. A faster way of connecting with me or, getting some questions out would be to email me at vernon@whatsyourhappy.com. And it's happy with an I.
Beautiful. And do you have any podcasts or books that you've written?
Oh, yes.
Plans for a book?
So I got challenged actually by one of my very close friends, and he said, you need to write a book. You really need to. And so I sat back and it took me a day and I wrote a book, and it's 10 Days to Finding Your Happiness. And it's a field guide. It's a way that I'm not going to get all fluffy language on you. I get straight to the point. Ain't nobody got time for that. And these are things that I've got clients to do, got clients to invest their energies into over the years, and things I even do myself. And it's 10 days. And these are actionable things. At the end of every chapter, I ask some questions because the power's in the questions. It's a fun, quick, but impactful read.
Where can they find the book? Is it on Amazon or?
On Amazon. It's actually getting published right now.
Well done.
The Kindle version is available right now. And my paperback will be, it's getting published right now. So I'm excited.
So what's it called again?
10 Days to Finding Your Happiness.
Beautiful. All right, Vernon, thank you so much for your time today. And I'll make sure to go and check out the book.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone listening.
All right. And lovely to meet your son.